everyone. Welcome to the program. This is Sunday Politics live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Wakimaloe in Abuja. Let's begin tonight by talking about some of the events of the past week, which has been quite interesting. Significant of that was the presentation of the budget 2024 by the president, which of course has started to receive some speedy attention from the federal lawmakers. And the president, as soon as he presented the budget, he jetted out of the country to the COP28 summit in Dubai. Well, attention is also being paid on the quality of governance in Nigeria. The former governor of Niger State, Babangida Aliyu, has picked up a controversial debate over the relationship between the legislature and the executive. He's also spoken about the sincerity of purpose of political class in Nigeria. Take a listen to him.
For the past 30 years, there was no 1 year that the budget we have passed into law that we have achieved 60% of implementation of that. Then that should make us to ask the question. That should make us to tell our senators and the members of the House of Representatives. But again, we have spoiled them. Till tomorrow, nobody knows how much they are paid, excluding going to the parastatals and the ministries, excluding the padding of the budget, where they know what they put there. So it has become a symbiotic relationship now of the real corruption. It's not just stealing money that is corruption. When you put an ink in a water, you have corrupted that water. So any action that you have done wrong is corruption by definition. And unless we're able to get that, we will be wasting our time and we will be catching only the few, those who have stolen millions. And those who have stolen billions, you will never catch them. Because before you catch them, they have caught you.
All right. I'm playing this very video to you because it's related to what we would like to discuss tonight on the program, in part. Well, President Tinubu's trip to Dubai for the COP28 conference is seeing him participating in the global event, and the president, alongside a delegation of over 1,000 Nigerians, attended the global summit to address critical issues surrounding climate change and sustainable development. On the sidelines of the conference, the president had engaged in crucial meetings, sealing of deals. Prominent amongst those is a cement power deal, hope to help improve the electricity situation in the country within the next few months. Some of other deals that could potentially reshape Nigeria's approach to environmentally sustainable situation or climate has also been struck about. Among the significant agreement was a groundbreaking partnership with international organizations aimed at accelerating green energy initiatives and fostering environmental resilience back home. Take a listen to President Tinubu's address at the conference yesterday.
We are committed to critical steps to reduce methane emission by ensuring flared gas are eliminated. There's a huge penalty for that. There's equally a huge incentive to do so. The measures that we're taking here is a welcome development, no doubt about that. And we are with the leadership of UAE for the commitment so far. We are consolidating on the gas export usage domestically and export for other countries. I can assure you that we will be partner in progress to achieve renewable. We are committed to energy mix. We are providing cooking gas for a large population. We will continue to do that. We've signed off on reduction of methane. We will leverage on new technology, and we hope the two giant nations and the Emirates will be able to help us through. What I know of Africa is the fact that the risk in additional investment and technological know-how, it is very necessary.
President Tinubu there when he was addressing the conference. However, President Tinubu's trip hasn't been without some controversy. The sizable Nigerian delegation has sparked debates back home, with concerns raised over the cost of governance amidst economic challenges. Critics argue that such a large delegation may strain the nation's resources, especially at a time when many Nigerians are grappling with economic hardships. But the presidency has since reacted to the outrage on social media and some debates that have gone on. And this is in part what Tope Ajayi, a senior special assistant to the president on media and publicity, had to say. Over 1,100 Nigerian listed on the Nigerian delegates. Let me take some pain to read some of what Tope Ajayi wrote. This is just in part in a lengthy response that he wrote in a response to say the fact against the fiction. He says, quote, "Their participation is very important. It is not for jamboree, and it is being mischievously represented on social media. It is important to state here that delegates from all countries, whether from government, private sector, media, and civil society groups, attend the COP summits and conference as parties, and the number of attendees are registered against their countries of origin. This does not mean that they are sponsored or funded by the government. It must be said also that the fact that people registered to attend the conference does not mean everyone that registered is physically present. As the biggest country in Africa, biggest economy, and one with a bigger stake on climate action, as a country with huge extractive economy, it is a no-brainer that delegates from Nigeria will be more than any other country in Africa. Among the delegates from Nigeria are UBA Chairman Tony Olumelu, Abdul Samad Rabiu, Chairman of Boa Group, and other billionaires whose businesses are promoting sustainability and climate actions through their philanthropies. These businessmen and women and their staff who came with them to promote their own business interests are part of the 1,411 delegates from Nigeria. Their trip to Dubai is not funded by the federal government." End of quote. As part of portions of what Tope Ajayi, senior special assistant to the president on media and publicity, sent out as a response to the debate over whether or not Nigeria really needed a 1,411 delegates to that conference. But let's take a look at other people that are there. Do we have a situation that is really out of hand? Is Nigeria, Nigeria overdone in the whole matter? Take a look at the entire delegates. It's over almost 100,000 delegates globally. But there are those who are participating virtually, who are 3,074. But Nigeria ranks amongst one of the highest countries to send delegates to that conference. And Nigeria comes shoulder to shoulder with China. UAE as the highest as the host, 4,409. Brazil, 3,081. China, 1,411. And Nigeria, 1,411. But, I mean, why are Nigerians particular about this matter of how many Nigerians the government is sponsoring there, a long list of ministers, a long list of delegation to that conference, and whether or not Nigeria has what it takes to be able to fund that kind of trip when we're talking about cutting cost of governance. If there are 3,074 delegates who are on the virtual space, can all of these people also revert to virtual when some other countries are being criticized? In fact, Kenya criticizes the president for his travels recently. So he campaigned that he was going to cut the cost of his travels. But it does look like this debate over the number of Nigerian delegates, though some of them are from the private sector and private individuals who have gone there, but the number of the government-sponsored delegates are also huge. And can Nigeria, in the midst of economic hardship, bear the brunt of shouldering these costs? Tonight, our Professor Jide Adibe is a professor of political science. He joins us live here in our studio. Thanks so much, Prof, for joining us tonight.
Thanks, Joe.
You smiling?
Yes, sir. You want me to be crying?
How would you describe this scenario? Sad or the situation where Nigerians are agitating, or are Nigerians just overreacting in this matter?
Comic, paradoxical. I can find more adjectives. Well, if you take this in isolation, it will probably be some room for justification. You can argue COP28 compared to what happened in Egypt. The size of the delegations have doubled, and so there's been this increasing tendency for increasing the number of delegates. But we cannot take this in isolation. We had just come out from conversations about purchase of a 116 million naira SUV for legislators. The president has been junketing around. We read that when he attended the UNGA conference in New York, he spent 500 million. And then dollars, not naira. And then he's been to a number of UAE and several other countries. How much were they costing? And just a few days ago, the minister for FCTA told us that the government was going to spend 15 billion naira, not to build, but to complete a befitting residential place for the vice president. So amid the binge on loan and borrowing and the increasing hardship and the increasing miserization of Nigerians, this thing happening is not just that it raises question about fidelity to cutting down the cost of governance, but also to the question of whether there is even compassion for the suffering Nigerians. Because if there is really the compassion for what's happening in the country at the moment, people should also be sensitive to the optics around the whole thing. Well, the various newspapers have estimated that the size of the Nigerian delegation is about 890, the Nigerian government funded delegation.
Funded, yeah.
890. And then it's not
those
just...
who argue that it may not be as much, maybe between 500 and 700.
Even do you need that many? Even if you put it at that number. So what will be their roles?
In Dr. Ajayi's paper, he argued that Nigeria has a peculiar... Nigeria is big in Africa. Nigeria has a big economy. Nigeria has a peculiar climate change problem.
That is not the way to read that. I mean, he's a government functionary, so you can understand that. You cannot justify that you're having more delegation than the European Union, than America, than Britain. In terms, these are people, they're just talking about what they call lost and found fund to help poorer countries, deal with climate change. So you come with this huge delegation, and these are being funded. These are the Western countries that we expect to fund out those things. And you are overwhelmed by borrowing, and you are the multilateral creditors, they are the bilateral creditors. Sooner than later, we're already giving them signals that we're going to come around to beg for debt forgiveness. And if you come with such huge size, are you going to make any headway in dealing with them? And don't forget, it's not just the cost of flight. It's lasting for 13 days. There's the cost of hotel. And there is also the fact that you have to deal with what they call Estacode. they said approximately a minister's extra code is about $900 per day. And so it cascades down. So it's more about being sensitive to the moods of the time, being sensitive to the fact that there is increasing hardship in the country, and being sensitive that across the board, Nigerians want to, a leader who that will feel the pulse of the people. So you cannot be, we move from 116 million SUV, 15 billion for the, for the vice president to have a befitting residential place, and then 1.2 trillion in supplementary budget, just on luxury items. So I think that the government of the day to really be able to, have a second look at all this.
I mean, from the argument, there's a lot of outrage, especially for some names that came up, some individuals that are maybe social media favorites, and those who their opposition in cold never thought they could be on that kind of delegation, and perhaps, of course, they've said government didn't sponsor. In fact, we've seen some politically exposed persons who said, look, I am there on my own account. I'm not sponsored by government. People are now coming out to say, I'm not sponsored by government. I sponsored myself. I'm not sponsored by government. I'm sponsored myself. But the question is that it is a system, some would say, about how government is being run, and the template that has been existing before this government come into power. Does it make this government look less serious or more serious in the manner in which this system has put them?
No, somebody not long ago, Nuhu Ribadu, the National Security Advisor, mentioned that the government inherited a bankrupt economy, which many people, understand that. But if that's were so, if you cannot fix the economy, then don't make it worse by your policies. Yes, there have been some people that, for example, we don't know whether Sheyi went there on his own, but in the newspapers, he was listed among those who went, who was part of the delegation. And there are actually about 3 categories. You have the government, the NGOs, and the media, and some other minor groups.
Private sector.
Yeah, private sector can be part of the state, the government delegation. How many people from the private sector are likely to be part of it? No more than 20, because you go with the top-notch ones. And these people can pay for themselves. So if it is actually true that it's 890, that is government-sponsored, what will be their specific responsibilities?
We understand that UNDP sponsored some private media organizations.
They can only sponsor the NGOs. So, and there are categories. As I say, there is the NGO community, there is the government one, and there is the media organizations.
So you're saying, Prof, that with the situation of the country, what kind of size do you think would be reasonable for a government in this kind of economic hardship should have sponsored?
Well, the size will depend on what will be your specific role in that conference. So I can understand the business community because you want to be able to make deals that will potentially benefit the country. So if the government wants, I don't think more than 3 ministers, personally speaking, you set the tone. Because if you set the tone and people know that the president abhors waste, whoever is compiling the list will be sensitive to the feelings of the president. But if you feel that there is an imperial proclivity, on the part of the president, that he likes all this big entourage because he gives one a sense of affirmation of one's importance, then the people, including that, will keep on increasing the size, because don't forget, it is part of the ways they build personal loyalty. They build this personal patronage. And this precisely what they call the politics of prebender politics. It's like that prebend, they throw it around and makes it go around. So
why do government officials have this yearning, this itching, this hunger to want to leave the country, to want to travel? Why did they travel first?
Well, you can say it's partly colonial, just like during the campaign, going to Chatham House became like an endorsement. You want to be, if World Bank says something good about it, you publicize it because it's an external validation. So you go out there, you are part of the delegation. Of course, there's the Star Code may mean something for some people, but for those who are really pilfering, laying their hands on huge sums of money back home, it may not be much. But it also being part of the presidential delegation, struggling to be able to, let the president see you 2-3 times. You never know what can come out of it. So I think, we know before being president, that's probably part of Tinubu's, private person. You saw when you went to Chatham House, the number of governors and former governors that were part of the entourage. In his campaigns, it was like that. So he, so to say, you can say he's being himself. But now you're in office, you have to, respond to the moods of the moment. And let me say this, it raises the question of the whole politics, messianic politics. Somebody will come around, we build our hope around them, and then the hope will just be dashed by one thing or the other. If you look at the time of Buhari, it was, he has a number, in his integrity, he is going to fight Boko Haram to a standstill. Nothing happened. Then with Tinubu, he's going to do this, he's built Lagos into an El Dorado, and we're seeing this. But it's not limited to Nigeria. In Malawi, Lazarus, the president, was a pastor, and everybody built this hope about a new Malawi. And what did we get? He just filled the government, keep government positions with family members. So what is on the table again is this messianic politics. It's not just about this thing that people we are looking for messiahs.
Does this travel costs in any way paint this government black in any sense? Does it make the person look not so good?
Oh, it's not about, but no, especially when whatever economic policies they've laid on the table, whatever might be the potential benefits, they have not become visible. People have not felt any change. On the contrary, if you ask people, are you better off now than 6 months ago? What will likely to be the average answer? So in the midst of that transition, you say you're still hoping that economic policies, will bring some changes. So far, it has not happened. And people are living in hope. And you're asking them to tighten their belt pending the time this thing happens. Meanwhile, they don't see the other side. The policymakers, the politicians, they see them living a different lifestyle.
So there is no strong message within government about the fact that the nation is poor, about the fact that we are cash-strapped, about the fact that we have low revenue. Things are still going as normal.
We are still borrowing. More people are getting poorer according to world poverty clock. And then upon that, the cost of governance is soaring. Why would 15 billion?
And officials are buying vehicles.
Buying vehicles. And then you talk about the yacht. 5 billion. These are luxury items. In moments of hardship and belt tightening, it's not just for one set of people. It should be for everybody.
And those who will say, okay, maybe it's not the style of President Tinubu to, although the likes of Peter Obi, he's always saying, he used one watch, he carries his own luggage by himself. So there are those who argue that, people are not the same.
But let me tell you, El, in messianic politics, we sometimes create this messiah. We don't really know who will now change things. Some people, we have seen people who get radicalized by power. People say you don't really know any person until you throw a combination of power and money on the person. Then the real person comes out. So you have seen some not so good individual, quote unquote, and they get into office, they get radicalized and decide to do something. On the other hand, we have also seen radicals, quote unquote, who become de-radicalized by the system. I give you an example, and I'm sorry if I mention a name. Oshomole and his famous khaki cap. He was as good as it could be, or if you are looking for a labor leader who used the right language. What happened? We saw that he paid 100 million to buy a presidential ticket, which he didn't complete, and we don't know if he got a refund. These days, he wears suits and expensive clothes. So you cannot say that power has not changed him. But what power has done to him is that what power has probably de-radicalized him, because some people go there, they become embourgeoised, and the next thing is that they commit class suicide. So people were hoping, there were supporters of Tinubu who said, well, we have tried Mr. Integrity, it doesn't work. And you say he's this and that and that. Yes, let us accept that whatever you say he was, but now let us try, it takes a thief to catch a thief theory. I'm not saying he's a thief, you understand what I mean. But does it work? That's part of what I call messianic complex. We don't know. Or they come in various forms of messianic packaging. And have we seen from Buhari to Tinubu now? What have we seen?
So you've not seen any difference?
Have you seen any?
I'm asking. I mean,
I haven't. You tell me, because the borrowing binge continued, the nepotism is continuing, the junketing around the world saying you are looking for foreign direct investment. We have seen all these side deals from time of Jonathan. How many of them turned into something real? So it's not what you tell us that they
so
are.
Is it a time to sit in Nigeria and get the job done?
Capital spells opportunity. If the conditions for making money, the principle of capital accumulation is that it smells money, it smells opportunity and comes in. I'm not saying you couldn't. They're traveling from here to there, say you are looking for investors. We ask Obasanjo did it, Jonathan did it, how many came? On the contrary, those who are here are already closing shops and leaving.
But they struck a deal with Siemens, which they say that we add about 15,000 megawatt in terms of generation, and hopefully it will add up to in the next 48 months. That's what the spokesperson of government said on this program on Friday, who says, look, this will hit the ground running. In Germany, the other day, the president also sealed a deal that will see Nigeria getting gas to the other side. And, those kind of deals, I mean, with all of these...
We're praying that they come to fruition. Don't forget, Buhari sealed several deals, as did Jonathan. Now, if you take an inventory of the number of deals that were sealed on the sideline of major conferences from time of Buhari down even to Jonathan, and then we'll ask ourselves how many came to fruition.
There are more of talk shops rather than...
We pray. We don't know which one will work. We pray, especially this one of power, that it works. But if the conditions at home are not favorable for capital to move in, foreign capital to move in, you can talk from here to thy kingdom come. There's what we call gesture politics, where, they say something to make people feel good, and then...
If you were President Tinubu, to show Nigerian people that there is a difference in his personality, in his approach, what do you think he would rather do to make a difference immediately? A low-hanging fruit.
Low-hanging fruit is one thing. People expected him to be imperial, the way he has been. That's why I say he has been true to himself.
When you say imperial, what do you mean?
By imperial, he likes all these big delegation. You see him during the campaign. If he was coming back from the airport, the governors will come and line up, and it will be a large entourage. That's, like a monarchical thing. That's his style. And then you have a number of patrons, a number of clients that are planted around. That is his style. But I can tell you, if Tinubu sends a message, President Tinubu sends a message, that he comes back and asks who is in charge of compiling this delegation, and sanctions the person. And next time he leaves an instruction, I don't want a delegation of more than 50. And whoever, contravenes that directive is seen to be sanctioned. By the time he does it 1, 2, 3, 4 times, because everybody knows he's a very rich man, and he's been used to a certain lifestyle. And people see that power then radicalizes him to such an extent that he's doing something different. So when he is now cutting down, people will see it as personal sacrifice, because even with his own money, he was capable of doing this. So the power now has been able to more like radicalize him that he no longer needs such things, you see Nigerians will start to have a different. And if he does it, if he penalizes and does it first 2-3 times, I can tell you, even ministers traveling will be conscious of the number of aides they will take with them. If President Tinubu tomorrow shows up in a meeting, in a bus, I can tell you the number of people who use motorcades, a minister using a motorcade, seeing that the president came out of a bus, will be very, very uncomfortable to be seen even in a motorcade.
Motorcading in Abuja, if there's anything like that, is very popular.
I
mean, if you live around Sokoro, the sirens are always blaring, and you wonder, maybe it's the president that is moving up and down, or maybe the vice president, and you wonder.
I'm around that place, but I'm trying to tell you that if that is how people will know it's a sacrifice for him, because I mean he's private jet and all those. So this is now. You know, when Trump was moving to the White House, people said, for many people, going to the White House is scaling up. But for him, it's scaling down. So if Tinubu changes and say, look, I don't want big delegation, he's scaling down, because what he was used to was this majestical form of, you know, a majestical politician who likes a lot of people around him. And if he sets the tone, people will now say, yes, this man really came here to do something. He's been radicalized by power. Right now, it's difficult for many people to say that there's a difference.
All right, let's take a breather, Prof. When we come back, we conclude our conversation around the cost of governance, the approach of President Tinubu. In fact, the list and the number of the delegation, whether private, public, had overshadowed whatever deal or whatever the business they've gone to do. In Dubai, when Nigeria and China are now, you know, shoulder to shoulder competing who has the highest number of delegates in Dubai. Can we afford it? That's a big question in the kind of economic hardship that the nation has found itself. A critical question, isn't it? We take a breather, and when we come back, more on that. Plus, we go to Kogi State, which looks so much that is now being turned into a political war ground. What is really going on in that state, for example? We'll find out after this break, everyone. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. President Bola Tinubu is being in Dubai, where he's been attending the COP28. He might exit that country today or tomorrow, from what we understand. And several deals, including that of Siemens and the power deal with Nigeria. We understand that the president also launched a carbon credit market deal yesterday. The EVC and renewable energy deal was also signed with an MOU today. There are also other deals signed by other ministries, including that of the aviation ministry, where Festus Keyamo, the Minister of Aviation, also got involved. Several deals that are being signed on the sidelines of the COP28, which focused on climate change. But what has gotten a lot of Nigerians talking is, yes, people will be looking forward to what are the benefits directly to the lives and the livelihood of Nigerians. How much of money will this probably guarantee in your pocket as a Nigerian? But again, how is the Nigerian money being spent on your behalf when hundreds of people are being jetted out of this country, and the cost of the nation, on Nigeria's pocket, in an economic situation that cannot be described more than hardship? Professor Gideon Fadibi has been speaking with us on the program tonight. He's a professor of political science. Thank you so much, Prof.
Thank you.
But you look at these holistically, and you look at the budget that the president presented, you look at what his plans are. Fundamentally, do you think it means well? Do you think he has the will to do more? There are those who will say that as there being a president in the history of this country who has sat his ministers down and made them commit by signing a bond of performance, there hasn't been those who will argue that if you do not perform, you exit. Does it show enough seriousness to really make Nigerians have some level of patience with him that he might just deliver?
Well, it's not quite true, because I remember Professor Tinubu was, as Minister of National Planning, developed a template for assessing, various ministers and their performance, whether you should meet some performance targets. But then, this is just written. I'm not saying it's a good thing, of course, to say that if you don't perform, we haven't seen what the KPI, the key performance indicators should be, and the mode of assessing. But let's see when one or two ministers are sacked.
Adiza Bala Usman, she is the class rep. She is the class monitor.
Yes.
Who is in charge? Class monitor.
Let's see, because
who monitors? She monitors.
Because first of all, we need to see the metrics you have set for the ministers
to judge whether you are
performing or not. Because it's not that straightforward. If you can plead lack of money, you can plead all this. When we look at your metrics for judging and the actions you've taken, and that probably will take up to 2 years before we can start saying it's not actually true that it's the first. But on question of
there are those who say the first in the sense of penning your commitment, not just saying it.
No, they
not just tracking.
I don't know about the
penning it.
I'm just mentioning that I do know that that template was there with Obasanjo. I'm probably other retreats. I know the other, Goodluck, Jonathan, I believe they had their own retreats too. But that is a good thing that he's able to say that. But just like one minister first made some presidential aide made some claims the other time, false claims. We have to be very careful about false claim. Until 2 years from now, when we have read the matrix by, Bala Usman was mentioning that, and then we will know whether they are going to deliver. On motive, I can tell you the road to hell was paved with the best of intentions. But then that still leads you to hell. The important thing now is not your intention, is how people deconstruct your intention. And that deconstruction of your intention is what people call optics. So if you mean very well, as Buhari was telling us, in the midst of his nepotism and everything, he will come around and say, my conscience is clear. So how do people see it vis-a-vis you're saying your conscience? How do people see this, amidst suffering? And then we'll see a lot of squandermania going on. That's, for me, what will judge the motive, whether not, no, there's no way Shakespeare would say to read the mind's construction on the face. So we deconstruct actions. It is good, as you mentioned, that his ministers are given targets. If you don't perform, you go. That's very good. The next is let us know the metrics.
All right.
The next one is let us see action.
I mean, it would be good if government, after this trip, they come out to, if truly there is an intention to cut cost of governance, to come out and say, in all of these travels, this is what it has cost, because there are those who are debating that the amount you talked about on the issue of Esther might not be the correct figure about what they get. There are those who will say, okay, some of these things are not exactly how, maybe you don't know how it works in government, but it would be good if government comes out to say, this is exactly for sake of transparency and the fact that if there's a trust of Nigerians' money and power in your hand, you at least have the need to come and explain to Nigerians that we are doing this in trust and we're doing it well. I don't think you...
No, you see, he's regarded as one of the most traveled presidents. President Obasanjo did a lot of traveling, but within the first few months of his presidency, he's traveled a lot. What are the costs in these times? Especially now in these days when technology can also help us to do this virtually. What are the costs of these travels? What are the gains? So that we'll be able to look at the cost-benefit analysis and know whether it is time for us to cut them. Yes, you say you're looking for foreign direct investment. At the same time, the ones here are divesting and living. So, which tells us that we need to improve the local environment.
Prof, give me a moment. Let me go straight to Kogi, where the troubling incident that unfolded in Kogi State when the residents of the Independent National Electoral Commission, ANEC REC, came under attack. The commissioner whose responsibility is crucial in ensuring free and fair elections, experienced this kind of act of aggression on his rest and raising concerns about the safety of the electoral officials in the state. The incident has sparked a heated exchange between the Social Democratic Party and the All Progressives Congress, APC, and the government also in Kogi State, with all the sides presenting conflicting narratives regarding the nature and the motivation behind the attack. The APC accuses political opponents of orchestrating the assault as an attempt to disrupt the electoral process. Additionally, there are accusations against the Yaya Bello-led state government, with critics questioning the security measures in place and raising concerns about the overall safety of electoral officials and even the citizen. Take a listen to the SDP in this press conference they held in Abuja.
After their violent protests a few days ago, people have also moved to Lokoja to ensure. It is sad that we have reached a stage where REC is not safe, INEC officials are not safe, parties are not safe, information or sources that have suggested some parties or interested parties, they don't want the beaver system to be inspected. For that reason, they sponsor talks. Some of them designed pickup for SDP, suggesting that SDP was the one organizing such protests. We were not part of it 100%, and no justification for SDP to be part of it 100%.
All right. As investigations unfold, which the security agencies they are doing, this incident underscores the importance of ensuring the safety and security of key stakeholders in the electoral process to preserve the integrity of our democratic institution. INEC is asking the security agencies to do something well. If the state government has been caught in this web, and allegations by the SDP is that the governor and the government are in fact in the middle and orchestrating all of this. How does the government react to this? Let's speak with the Commissioner for Information in Kogi State, Kingsley Fanwo, who joins us live from Lokoja. Thank you so much, Mr. Fanwo, for joining us. How do you react to the accusation that your government, your governor, is principally involved? That's what the SDP is alleging.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sheon, and I want to say good evening to viewers around the world. We did not just get here overnight. We need to trace the chronology of this wanton criminality being perpetrated by the SDP and the supporters of the party in the state. Let us start with the kind of utterances that have been made by the SDP governorship candidate when he called the whole ethnic group a common enemy. When you refer to someone as a common enemy, you are instigating other people to see such a person as a common enemy and probably take arm against such a common enemy. You know, it started from all of this, even when it came to the gruesome murder of Khadijat Yahaya at Kotonkarufi. All of these were reported to security agencies to take immediate action. But to our surprise, we are shocked that despite all of this, all of the wanton criminality, destruction, killing, maiming, and all of that by the SDP and their supporters, the security agencies have not done anything substantial to restore the confidence of the people in their operations. I am directly calling out the DSS and the Nigerian police, the command in Kogi State, for their foot-dragging attitude in ensuring that these people are prosecuted. Assuming the murderers of Khadijat Yahaya had been prosecuted, we would not be where we are today.
Well, Mr. Commissioner, you will imagine that your principal, the governor, is the chief security officer of the state. And now you are calling out the security agencies who are supposed to be reporting to him. How does that work?
It works this way. As a government, we've written a lot of reports, a lot of petitions to the police command and the DSS to spell out in specific terms with empirical evidence some of the atrocities, some of the atrocious activities of the SDP candidate and his supporters. This is not a blatant allegation on national television just for the sake of it. These are backed with empirical evidence. A woman at Kotonkarufi was gunned down by thugs loyal to the SDP candidate on the day they were having their rallies. These were reported to the police, the DSS, but up till now, they've not done anything significant about it. And that this has emboldened these criminals to continue to perpetrate their criminality, and it's becoming very worrisome.
So,
and that's why...
Mr. Panwo, I mean, the question I was asking, just a moment, is that your principal is the chief security officer of the state. I imagine, as a father of your children and the head of your home, you are in charge of your home, isn't it? Anything that goes wrong, you might be able to eject, take action, or take charge of your home as head of your home. So you have, you take the blame and you take the praise when things go right or wrong. So the question is that as a chief security officer,
Mr.
I mean, is it not a big question mark whether or not your principal is truly in charge of things in the state?
Your analogy has some philosophical errors. If I am the head of my family. If I have a son that is appointed by a certain Mr. Shewa Kimbaloye from Abuja, apart from giving me reports, he also reports to Mr. Shewa Kimbaloye in Abuja. So I am not in total control of that. So it's different from when I am in total control of what my children do.
Are you saying Governor Yaya Bello is not in total control of the security situation in Kogi State at the moment? Is that what you're saying?
What I am telling you is that the heads of the security agencies do not only report to the governor of the state, they also report to their superiors in Abuja. And that's why we are calling on Mr. President to call these people to order and make them act on the reports that are before them that have empirical evidence and facts. That is what we are saying. We are not saying the governor is not in total control. If the governor had not done what he has been doing in the state to ensure security, we would have witnessed a complete state of anarchy in the state with the way these people are going about what they are going about. I'm going to give you an example. A few days ago, they came out to complain about the safety of election materials. And they were saying that they do not have confidence in the resident electoral commissioner. They do not have confidence in INEC. And they were even suggesting that they move INEC materials in INEC custody to Abuja. Less than 48 hours after that, gunmen stormed the house of the resident electoral commissioner and attacked that house in a guest chapel format that was so threatening. And possibly they were there to assassinate the resident electoral commissioner. Even the people in Yoruba will say, Ajekelano Omokuloni, if the witch cried last night and the little child died this morning, you don't have to trace that far. You know where that is coming from. So they need to act. And recently, they also directly accused the Commissioner of Police of recruiting thugs to create insurgency in the state. That was clear. And the Commissioner of Police gave them 24 hours after explaining his role in maintaining law and order. It is more than 48 hours after that, and the Commissioner of Police had not done anything about it. So, the director of the DSS says, despite all our reports, all our complaints, all our petitions before them, have not done anything about it. If there are things they need to tell us, they need to come out and tell us. If they are there to protect the criminals that are following a particular candidate of a party, killing, maiming, even stopping people from voting on election day, seizing tags of agents and killing some of the supporters of the other political parties. And up till now, they kept saying they are investigating. Are they going to continue to investigate and these people will continue to waste the lives of our people? We can no longer wait for that. So we are calling on Mr. President to act.
Yeah, Mr. Vanwo, I mean, this lamentation coming from the state government. The other day, you also addressed a press briefing where you called for the arrest of the SDP candidate, or those who say it's been long coming that you have been asking. This is politics being taken too far.
It's not so. If your supporters, you went to a place for an unauthorized rally, you did not inform security agencies you were going to have a rally, A member of the opposing party was wearing the face cap of that party, and he was gunned down by thugs. Do we need to tell the police and the DSS before they do their jobs? Do we need to call on them to arrest the perpetrators before they do their jobs? Have they come out to tell us that this is the report of their investigations? All the petitions we have written to them, have they come out to tell us about it? So it is not about lamentation. It is about calling on them to do the right thing. Muri Ajaka is a threat to the security of Kogi State. And before others think that taking arm is lawful and right, he needs to be arrested. They need to arrest him, prosecute him, and make him account for the killings that have happened under his watch. They need to make him account for the wanton destruction of lives and property under his watch.
Mr. Commissioner, let me ask you quickly. For those who are in your state on the ground saying it is an agitation against the outcome of the election, perhaps the propriety of the results of the election, would you say the election was free and fair? Of course, I mean, I can imagine what you would say because you worked in that election. But if they say it's an agitation against the propriety and they believe that the election was skewed and rigged against them, that's the reason why this whole agitation is happening in your state in the aftermath of the election.
I don't agree with that. The agitation possibly is out of the frustration of those who boasted that they were going to win elections, that they have the backings of certain people, even right there in the villa. But at the end of the day, it was discovered to be all reals. It was discovered to be all about names dropping, and they lost. They lost woefully at the polls. Despite the fact that they waged violence in their own part of the state, trying to use certain compromised security agents to drive people away that are supporters of the APC, we were still able to win landslide. And even in that senatorial district, we were still able to win a local government and did well in some other local government areas. And did you hear of any violence in Kogi Central or Kogi West? There was none like that. We witnessed some violent acts in Kogi East, not by the very good and intelligent and peace-loving people of Kogi East, but by the desperate politicians who thought that their ethnic jingoism and bigotry could make them win governorship, banking on just one senatorial district. A statement has been made in the state that for you to win, you have to work with everyone.
We're totally out of time. Yeah. Yeah. Kinsey Fanwo is the Commissioner for Information and Communications in Kogi State. Thank you so much indeed for your time. And Prof, thank you so much for your time tonight. I appreciate it. But that's our show for tonight, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm sure Kimberly. Bye-bye.